On June 23, 2018, 20-year-old Brandon Chicklis was lured to a treehouse in Ashburnham, Massachusetts by 21-year-old Julia Enright with the promise of sex. Once there, Julia repeatedly stabbed Brandon to death. His body was then wrapped in several blankets, duct taped, and driven to Rindge, New Hampshire and discarded on the side of Route 119. A few weeks later, a jogger found Brandon's remains and contacted police. Detectives were able to trace Brandon's movements and found blood evidence on the stairs of the treehouse as well as inside and under it. Julia was arrested and charged with Brandon's murder. During her trial, prosecutors argued that the murder was a gift for Julia's boyfriend Jonathan Lind, with whom she shared dark interest. Lind had apparently shown up after the murder and didn't like his gift but still helped Julia dispose of the body. Julia took the stand and admitted to stabbing Brandon multiple times but claimed it was in self-defense following an alleged sexual assault. Prosecutors refuted that claim. They presented evidence of Julia's past as a dominatrix, journal entries expressing a desire to kill, and text messages discussing a bloodbath. Julia Enright was found guilty of second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. On the evening of February 2, 2016, 24-year-old Caroline Nosal was shot and killed in the parking lot of Metro Market Cottage Grove in Madison, Wisconsin by 26-year-old Christopher O'Crowley. Caroline had worked at the grocery store with Chris and had befriended him. However, Chris wanted more than friendship from Caroline and made advances towards her which were not reciprocated. She started to distance herself from him, which made him act aggressively towards her. The managers of the store were notified of his behavior and Chris was fired 2 weeks later. He didn't take this lightly and went to buy a gun that same day. Chris fixated on the idea that Caroline was responsible for his termination and decided to kill her the following day. Authorities quickly identified him as the prime suspect and he was arrested on February 3rd after a brief gunfight with police. He was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and first-degree reckless endangerment. During his interrogation, Chris confessed to the murder, saying it was easy to kill Caroline and he would have done it sooner, but he wanted to practice shooting his new gun. Christopher O'Crowley was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to life in prison, but took matters into his own hands and committed suicide in his cell. On March 8, 2020, 69-year-old Lee Pedersen was found shot to death in his Long Island, New York home. He had suffered a single gunshot to the head. The murder investigation revealed that Donatilla O'Mahony, Lee's antique engine enthusiast friend, was the prime suspect. She had purchased a 9mm handgun from another friend, George Woodworth. Security footage showed Donatilla borrowing George's car on the night of the murder, and the vehicle was seen near Lee's residence around the time of his death. After the murder, Donatilla urged George to destroy the gun and other evidence. However, a bag of ammunition with DNA from both Lee and Donatilla was found at George's home. Furthermore, Donatilla attempted to forge Lee's will to inherit his home, but the police already had the original copy. After a 9-month investigation, Donatilla was arrested in December 2020 and charged with first-degree murder and several other charges. During her trial, George's testimony played a crucial role. He admitted to purchasing the gun for Donatilla, allowing her to use his car, and disposing of evidence at her request. That, along with the security footage, sealed her fate. On January 4, 2023, Donatilla O'Mahony was convicted of second-degree murder, possession of a forged instrument, and attempted grand larceny. She was given a sentence of 25 years to life. On July 31, 2022, in Strongsville, Ohio, 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla intentionally drove her vehicle into a building at 100 miles per hour. The crash resulted in the instant deaths of her passengers, 20-year-old boyfriend Dominic Russo and 19-year-old Davion Flanagan. Mackenzie survived the crash. The exact motive behind Mackenzie's actions remained unclear, but it was known that she and Dominic were having a lover's dispute around the time of the incident. Davion was simply there because he had asked Mackenzie for a ride home that day. Surveillance footage recorded her driving calmly through various streets before accelerating into the building. Mackenzie was a known bully at school and would often demean and humiliate others. She also had made threats to Dominic prior to the incident where she stated she would crash the car and kill them both. After the crash, Mackenzie texted condolences to Davion's mother and sister, maintaining that the crash was an accident. She insisted she does not remember the crash and denied that it was intentional. Mackenzie was arrested 3 months later and charged with 12 counts, including murder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and possessing criminal tools. She was convicted of all charges in a bench trial and sentenced to 15 years to life. In October 2012, 19-year-old Cara Nichols was reported missing by her father after she failed to return home. During this same time, Joe Hollendorfer and Christina Palmer, his then-wife, were going through a divorce in late 2012. Shortly after the divorce, Joel had contacted Cara, who was working as an escort at the time, for sex. In May 2013, police contacted Joel for the first time in connection with Cara's disappearance due to cell phone records linking him to her. He told authorities he was supposed to meet up with Cara but decided to cancel last minute and had no idea what happened to her. In October 2014, law enforcement executed the first search warrant on properties associated with the Hollendorfer family. One of those was a home on Burgess Road in the Black Forest area, but they did not find Cara's body. In late 2014, after the sudden death of Joel's father due to a heart attack, Joel asked his ex-wife to come out with him.
On this drive, and when he said, "I need to talk to you about something," what was his demeanor? What was his tone?
He seemed distraught.
Okay.
upset. And I knew that just from his demeanor, whatever he needed to talk to me about was serious enough that I needed to go talk with him.
Okay. So you're in the car, and are you just kind of like sitting together in the car talking?
We're driving.
Driving? Okay. And so while you're driving, what does he say he has to tell you?
He told me that he felt guilty for his father's death. And when I asked him why, he ended up telling me about having killed somebody.
Okay.
And that he ended up having to tell his dad after there was an investigation at the farm. And he felt that his dad's knowledge of that led his dad to have a heart attack. So he felt responsible for it.
And so you said he told you that he had killed somebody. Did he give any detail about what had happened?
He told me that he had hired an escort, and that drugs were involved, that he had had sex with her, and that he had accidentally strangled her during said time.
Okay. Did he tell you what he did after this woman was dead?
He told me that he freaked out because he didn't know what to do. And he drove to his parents' house in Black Forest, and that he buried her on the property.
With this new information, law enforcement located and excavated Cara's body from the Hollendorfer property in the Black Forest, where it was buried on top of horse remains. Joel Hollendorfer was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence. Christina Palmer was the key witness in Joel's trial. In June 2023, Joel Hollendorfer was convicted not of the initial first-degree murder charge, but of manslaughter in the death of Cara Nichols. On August 31st, 2023, he received a 24-year sentence for reckless manslaughter with 571 days credited for time already served. During the sentencing, family members and close friends of Cara voiced their disappointment over the leniency of the punishment Joel had received. They vowed to attend every parole hearing to ensure Joel serves his full sentence.